Hello and welcome to Gamers Table, a discussion of tabletop role-playing games, war games, movies, books, and other related topics. Be warned, this show may contain some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike.
This is Dan. This is Mark.
And I'm Sean.
This episode, we're going to title it nOOB Gamer Outreach Program.
Okay.
Noob alert.
What that means is
We're not inviting you to play with us.
a listener named Jeff Cassavant, he asked us, in an email, he wanted to know if we had any advice for a noob gamer. And let me preface it by saying he said that he's thinking of taking up the hobby. So he's not already a gamer.
Okay.
None of his friends are already gamers. Or if they have, they may have played once or twice. He wants to take up the hobby. And what do we recommend to a group of complete noobs taking up the hobby? What would be some insight that we would give them?
Are we saying these people are already kind of interested in the genres that take place here? We're saying this group probably already likes fantasy.
Well, that's what my number one thing is advice would be pick a genre or at least a system or something like that, subject matter that you are already interested in.
Barring system, I would say, if all your friends like Star Wars, find some Star Wars books. If all your friends like the Lord of the Rings movies, D&D is a good place to start. Or there's also, the Lord of the Rings game.
Right. It's a One Ring now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
There's basically
Cubicle
a game
7.
for every setting. So.
See, that brings me to what I was going to say and how I kind of got you guys into Games Workshop was the gateway drug that is minis.
Oh,
A miniature game.
Miniatures games, or just like Sean last week he was thumbing through some art of the King of the Dwarves for Games Workshop. That's a great mini. I want to play that guy. I want to be that guy.
Right. Well, that's
great.
If you're
good
if you're
artwork,
somebody who's visual. Yeah. If you and there's lots of really good fantasy art or miniatures and things like that to kind of whet people's appetites. Finding something that visually is striking that somebody could derive inspiration from.
Board games.
Well, board games are good, but he wasn't specific about board games and things like that. He was specifically asking about role playing games.
Right.
Buy cool dice.
Well,
Are we going to also assume they don't play online RPGs?
he just said he was the subject is tabletop role playing games.
I'd almost have to guess that anymore a noob that wants to get into that is already dabbling in video games.
They probably are.
And he's decided, I love playing fantasy video games, and wow, I remember the game called D&D a long time ago. Let's try that.
Yeah.
That's probably where he's coming from.
I can see easily where someone could segue from like Skyrim into D&D.
I don't think you could come at D&D as a blind group. I don't think you could do it.
Not as a group, as a single person in a group that's already established.
What I'm saying, if let's say none of us were gamers and there's 6 of us,
right,
generally, and none of us knew how to play any of these games.
No, you wouldn't be able to.
D&D. I'm really right now trying to think of a game that you could play blind.
That's what I was saying. Is start off with some of the more readily identifiable things,
a card
like Star
game or a
Wars.
board game, where the rules are set and you just play it.
Or if you like superhero stuff, Mutants and Masterminds. If you like the Batman movies, you go straight for the DC Universe Mutants and Masterminds and bring them in that way.
You still need somebody that knows what they're doing.
I say you got to go to a con.
Because I am personally a noob at trying to. I would not run a game. I wouldn't know where to start to run a game.
You'd have to go to a for beginners game at a con.
Learning a game
because you gotta have a frame of reference,
right?
So that when you go get that book, makes any kind of sense.
That's something that this is such a unique question. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because I think when I think back of when I started gaming or gaming with people, there's always one person at the table who knows how to play the game, or at least has played it before.
Right.
The situation of nobody at the table knows how to play this game. That would be very, very intimidating to be a game master and to want to run a game for the first time. I think that would be very daunting.
That's why I say I don't think you could do it with D&D.
Yeah,
in this iteration, because there's no. Is there a red box anymore? I know there was.
Yes.
Maybe
both D&D and Pathfinder both have beginner boxes.
Maybe that. That's like a real,
because it's very not necessarily watered down rules, but very streamlined rules.
Hold your hand through that first adventure kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe.
Watch the D&D episode of Community. That'll give you a good.
That's funny, but actually, I would if that's a noob gamer, no, do not watch that because that would give you a false inclination of how to play the game because they do not play it right. And you know what I mean.
Telling somebody else they're playing their D&D game wrong. Now there's something.
Have you seen the episode?
No, I do not. Watch
it was D&D only in that they called it D&D.
Right.
Yeah, if you have a local convention that you can go to, that almost every convention is going to have a game for new people, or at least any game you get into. I've never sat down at a table at a con. I sat down and said, we've never played this game, and somebody goes, oh, God, no, you can't sit here and play this game. Usually it's like, oh, it's okay. We'll show you how it works.
I mean, these guys, Eric and Jason, a few Gen Cons ago, I got them into a Buffy game at Gen Con. We sat down and basically learned the game and took over the table just, because we knew each other and knew how to role play with each other and had a lot of fun. And we have never played Buffy the Vampire Slayer since.
Right. This actually kind of ties into one of our previous episodes, which is learning a new game. Episode 49, we talked about what the process that we go through to learn a new game. So if you've got a whole group of people who's never played the game before, you really need to have the game master needs to know the rules. So they need to learn the game. Like you said, a convention. Sitting around making characters. That used to be a big thing with us. When we were starting a new game, whether we knew the game or not, let's have a character generation night.
It's still my funnest night.
Well,
my favorite.
It does a whole lot of things. It does. What it does is it allows the characters or the players to bounce ideas off of each other. Mm-hmm. And as the game master, you can kind of put in some input on, well, that really wouldn't work. That's really cool. You can run with that. That kind of thing. That kind of interaction, I think, enhances the game because it kind of sets it all off on a good foundation. Observing other games played, things like that. Actual play podcasts are good. We've got our Victoriana game that
I don't know if that would necessarily help you with the rules or not.
Well, then we kind of stumbled through them because we were actually learning that game as we played it.
Yes, it was the first. Well, no, you had played it at
Eric and I had played at Gen Con.
At Gen Con.
So we had.
So we're what they call eating our own dog food. That is how we learned a new game.
Yeah,
we went to a con and did it.
We went to a con. We learned. We sat down because I had been exposed to the game. At least I saw the game the year before. The next year, I was like, I want to sign up for this game. I want to play it. I want to see how it works because I really can't get my mind around the rule set. We sat and played it, and we thought, we could do this. Yeah, we could play this game. So then that's why we did the actual play. Of course, we were so far removed from the time we sat down. We were months apart.
Yeah.
That there was plenty of stuff forgotten. But I think, all in all, it forces you to kind of, learning on the fly. It's very start and stop because you're looking up rules that you're not certain about and things like that.
Playing things wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not fun.
Right.
Right. We could have done that completely wrong. We're still not entirely for sure we did any of it right, but it's still fun.
Right. And that's really the bottom line to all of this.
It's an excuse to get your friends together.
Well, just about any role-playing game book will say somewhere in the rules section, if you don't like these rules, feel free to tweak them or leave them out or add to them. So if you've done that by accident, then you're fine.
Unless you're Mike, because its rules is written all the way.
Right.
So I was trying really hard to think how I started running D&D. I was shown the game before that, but starting to DM it myself.
Mm-hmm. Jason just begged you until you did?
No. The first red box that I had a, being a beginner's box, had an example of play. A whole, I don't know how many pages, but it's an example dungeon. It tells you, the step-by-step, the rolls, it even has dialogue and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember reading that very intently. And I know some games today still have those kind of instructional booklets that come with them. But I also know some games don't have that. And I think they're more advanced games, like, let's just say Dark Heresy. I don't know if Dark Heresy has example
it's funny
rules.
You bring this up because let's say by the time this airs, we'll say a couple months ago, Steve Kinson sent out a tweet. It's like, what should the first chapter of a game book be? And that was my suggestion, is a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that does set the tone. It gives you something, it's a reference.
And it even gives you...
I've seen game books like that. Like, what is role-playing?
Right.
Yeah, but it even tells you how, the lingo, how to, judge...
What is this word taco?
Yeah.
It's spelled wrong.
I can't. I had a game book. I can't remember what game it was for at this point. It might have been 7th Sea that had a lexicon in it. These are terms we use in the game, and this is what they mean.
Yeah.
And it was like right there in either the first or second chapter.
I know that off the top of my head, the first thing I thought about when you were talking about that, Mike, is Atomic Highway. Atomic Highway has quite a bit in the beginning where it's a game group. You know, it even has little sketches of this is the game master. His name's Tom or whatever, and you know, here's the players, and then the game master's running the game, and it's, you know, kind of giving the back and forth, and you need to roll this, and this is what you're looking for, and that kind of thing. And I always tend to glaze over those things, even a game I don't know, because I think, and maybe it's hubris. It's I know how to play a damn game. Come on, just show me the rules.
Right.
A lot of times, I think it's because it's hokily done. It's kind of cheesy.
It
seems trumped up or contrived.
The good ones are probably like that because they're written for not necessarily the lowest common denominator, but for someone who is totally entry level, who doesn't know a role playing game from the D&D movie.
Oh, those poor people. Yes,
don't watch the D&D movie.
That's not the gateway to this.
Please do not reference that.
Except that new one that's coming out, because that might be awesome.
No. I could not believe something could sully the name of the Book of Vile Darkness, but it did.
Yes.
So anyway.
Unless there's a hot chick in there wearing the nipple clamps of exquisite pain.
It should not exist. You people have problems.
That's the only thing I remember from that book.
Something else that I kind of thought about, it kind of ties in with one of our other episodes, episode 6, going all the way to episode 6, Gaming with Strangers.
Back when we sucked even more than we do today.
It's your gaming group. You know, if being friends first, it's always easier to have fun with people that you're comfortable with. So if you're starting up a gaming group, you know, and you know it's you and your friends, you know, that way you can really kind of be yourself. Because if you're not being yourself, then that's adding more stress to the game. Yeah. And it's really supposed to be fun, and you're not being yourself in front of your friends or these people, whatnot.
You've got to be able to be yourself so you can pretend to be somebody else.
Right.
It's true.
But kind of tying into that also is a place where you're comfortable to play. Because if you're in a place that you feel exposed and things like that, and you feel kind of silly, then you're not probably going to have as much fun as if you're in a place where you can really cut loose and be over the top, or however, you know, whatever your gaming style is that you develop. Because you're new, you're not going to have a gaming style. You know, at first, especially as adults, you're sitting there going, "Why I'm playing this game and I'm acting like I'm something else."
You got to want to do that.
Yeah.
Which I kind of figured this guy probably does, and his people probably do. If he's asking this question, there's got to be some kind of
it's like
desire or a spark
right.
there.
So I've seen it, or I've seen my brother play it, or I've played it a long time ago. Something that I
just want to boss my friends around for a few hours.
There's always that.
Right. It really depends on the people that you're playing with too. I mean, if it depends on their playing styles, they're new. You won't know what their playing styles are, but you can kind of guess who's going to be your method actor and who's going to be your
hack and slasher
and things like that. And you know, people can surprise you, but you know, using props, using cosplay, things like that helps people get into the mood of playing. Now, we don't do that here, but there are plenty of gamers who do that. You know, they find they feel like they get more into their character if they're in a costume or wearing a hat or whatever. So, I mean, if that's
that'd be another thing. I just occurred to me. This guy is just talking about sitting down and playing a game. He's not got us confused with LARP or anything like that, does he?
Not that I know of. It's just sitting down and playing.
Okay.
You know?
LARP is a whole other thing. It's the same thing, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, well, it's a splinter faction.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, like, what game is the best? I probably said this on one of those episodes. From a purely dice standpoint, I would say True 20.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my wife, a long time ago, you know, we hadn't been together that long, and I was really upfront about, you know, being a nerd, you know,
right?
Because you have to be.
Right. You don't want to be a closet nerd.
Right. And she saw my dice. You don't really, being gamers that we are, we know what dice are.
Right.
Each of them.
Yes.
You can, to somebody who's at a distance, you're looking. There's a 12-sider.
Who's never gamed before. That is complex.
Yeah.
You know, like,
how do you read a 4-sider?
What is this for? Why would you use this? Where you know you've got True 20. This is a 20-sider right here, and this is the only dice that you need. That would be my only
Yeah.
See, I slightly disagree with that.
Yeah, I like the multiple dice.
I like your point, but I think
love multiple dice.
I think familiarity helps. I think anything
Six.
that's
You're thinking
based on 6-siders.
Shadowrun 6-siders?
Or just even D&D, where the stats are all basically 3d6.
Yeah.
People have played numerous games.
But that's where it goes. After stat
the
creation,
other dice.
D&D goes in a completely different
Yeah,
direction.
but if you do not have any 6-siders, then you're in totally foreign territory.
So what would be like the easiest all 6-sider game that we know of?
Old West and Star Wars.
Something
Star Wars.
that's actually accessible.
It's
Star Wars relates to everyone. Everyone
system,
knows what
Fate
Star
system,
Wars
Fate
is.
system. If you use I think Fate system works if you use their special dice. I don't like the
See,
using,
special dice would be
Yeah.
a little advanced.
It'd be
I think.
helpful, but they're not totally necessary.
Mark may hit me for this, but as I'm thinking about it, we're talking about having things kind of laid out for you.
Right.
We go back to how I started, which was Hero Quest.
Right.
The hardcore modern equivalent of that is kind of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay now.
Oh, yeah, the third edition.
Their box set set up.
Yeah.
You have a group of people. It's perfect for this. The more I'm saying this, you buy your box set.
Yeah.
This is my portion of the game. It's
Yeah.
all laid out for you. You have your player cards. All of that's done. I mean, it's Hero Quest to the nth degree. But that's how you start out getting these concepts down of role playing.
I think that's a very good point. And I also, when you mentioned West in Star Wars, the first instinct I had was, if you're a newbie gamer starting with an old edition of an old game.
Yeah, that's the easiest D6 system I can think of.
I agree and I understand where you're coming from, but
getting hold of that book's going to be rough.
Going back for old games. People want to play, especially somebody new into the hobby. They're going to want what's latest,
right?
They want to be able to go and get what's next.
Which is kind of why I disagree with Dan about the fantasy role play. Not just because I disagree with the concept of the game and how it's executed right now, but because all the players are going to have their own thing.
Well, see, that's actually something that I would recommend.
Well, see, that's the thing though. If he's got 4 or 5 friends that he's trying to bring in with his new game, he's telling them all they've got to go out and buy $50 worth of game gear straight away. It's not going to be a real selling point.
An old school player's handbook was $40, wasn't it?
Oh no, back in the day,
$39,
way back then.
It's like $20.
No, I'm okay. Right now, what's a PHB? It's $40.
It's about $40.
Right. So I mean, our price point for this hobby is pretty high.
Well, yeah, but as a game master, he could just spend $40 or $50.
Oh no, you can't. Everybody's got to have their own PHB, man. That's, you got to. Because then you go home and then you're.
Are you getting a cut?
Yeah.
Huh?
Are you getting a cut?
I would like to. Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
There's some role playing. I'm an advanced gamer. I consider myself, and there's some games I will not touch if it is thicker than a steak.
You mean like the Kickstarter Eric and I backed for the 600-page Traveler Compendium of Death?
It's a complete set.
Okay.
Can't wait till it comes in.
The Dresden book, the main one, is about 1 3/4 inches, maybe 2 inches
I will
thick.
not try to read
That's
it.
almost 400 pages.
I won't try to read it.
So you're talking about 600 pages?
The new Pathfinder role playing game. I will not try that. It's too advanced. I would rather do the beginner box Pathfinder.
Well, I think beginner boxes. That's what they're for.
Right.
D&D. I mean, you try and get some people involved in a role playing game, and you tell them we're going to play Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. They're going to go, "What's that?"
It's true.
You tell them we're going to play Pathfinder. What's that? You tell them we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. They know exactly what that is.
That's true.
Well, they will have heard of it.
Sure, sure, and that's the thing. It's brand recognition.
Right.
So they're gonna come in and they know that they're going to be playing a game, using imagination and dice, most likely. So doing a beginner box set and I've seen most of the beginner box set. I know I've seen the red box. I bought it for my daughter, and then I've seen the Pathfinder one. The characters come in. There's a card. It's the fighter card. There's the cleric card. You just hand out the card. What do you want to play? Oh, I don't know. Here, give me something. You play it. It's not. You don't have to worry about coming up with character backgrounds and all this other stuff like that.
At best, the players just have to go out and buy dice.
Right. But once you get beyond that, sitting down with that beginner box,
Baby steps,
and taking your baby steps, and then you really want to get into the meat and potatoes of the game, and you want to come up with your own campaigns and doing all of this and that, that's a whole different thing. Then you're talking about, advancing from a noob to a beginner. Then, then come up with all these campaign ideas and stuff like that. But just to sit down and enjoy the game, something simple, easy that people can walk away and go, well, that wasn't so bad. I'd do that again.
The adventure that came with the original Red Box D&D set, it was the Keep on the Borderlands, the Caves of Chaos and all that, and it's a really simple instructional game that stood the test of time, and that's even why they have now based their 5th edition playtest on that.
Now, moving beyond that and talking about a little bit more advanced stuff, if you wanted to come up with your own stuff and whatnot, something that I would say is, as a beginner, if you're going to play in like an established world, it doesn't matter what genre you're playing in, don't get too hung up on canon. If you're going to sit there and you just want to have fun, then cut loose. If
Mike
you're
just passed out. Come back to us, Mike.
But you know what I'm saying. You're playing Star Wars, and somebody wants to shoot Greedo before Han Solo can, then let them do it.
It'd be better than what ended up in the movie.
Oh, you could try.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, those are your finding your RPG legs.
Yeah,
right. There are certain things that you just have to do.
Yeah.
Like shoot Guido.
Greedo.
He's Guido.
Not Guido.
Shoot the Guido.
Some random Italian guy you can go with.
Hey! Just shot the font.
Sean shot first.
There's also the a very tough thing to do is to keep the group at the table, the size manageable. Let's say you're wanting to start a game and you got a couple of friends. You're like, well, we need maybe 1 or 2 people, and you put out an ad, like let's say at a game shop or on Craigslist or something like that, And then all of a sudden now you've got this big group of people, and nobody knows how to play the game. The table size could be daunting too.
I personally think the ideal group size is GM 3 players. I think that's the perfect size for starting out a game.
Yeah. I think 4th edition D&D was a Game Master 4 players, wasn't it? Wasn't that their model?
3rd edition, that's what they based all the
modules on.
Modules, yeah.
Right.
Fighter, wizard,
they had
cleric,
it down
thief.
They had it down to a science, and it was sickening.
Yeah.
It was pretty crappy science.
Yes.
Or some of that new science.
New science and new
science.
I was going to recommend, while we're talking about D&D as a more common starting point, I would also advise dungeon crawls.
Yeah.
Because it's laid out.
Yeah, they're pretty simple.
Yeah. And that's because there's really
It's hard to screw up a dungeon crawl. I'll admit that.
Right, especially for a noob. You draw it out. They get to they move their miniature and navigate the dungeon, fight the monsters. I mean, if you think about it, that's how the game started.
Yes.
It started as a a miniature combat simulation that they added the role play to. You can do that. You can add role play to any miniature game.
I want to role play being the hat in Monopoly.
Sure. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, we've done it in Blood Bowl. Mike role plays his damn
Skaven.
Yeah,
And goblins.
and goblins. Yeah, the goblin stretcher bearers and all that stuff.
I think that has more to do with Mike being mental than anything else.
Okay, so let's take it from the newbie game master and let's put it in the
hard,
in the
man.
perspective of the newbie player. What would our advice to a newbie player be? Well, first and foremost, I would think that
Patience.
if you don't understand the game, that's okay. Just don't argue with the game master.
Ask questions.
Ask questions and be like, what do I do here? What do I do there? But I think my number one rule as a noob game master, sitting down, and tell all the players, turn off your phones. Give the game master your undivided attention, because nothing kills a game session more than distraction. And if the game master is new at this, they're going to be kind of focused on what they're doing. They may not have this elaborate, loose plot for everybody to kind of fit in and all this other stuff. It's going to be very cut and dry, and they're going to expect you to listen to what they're talking about.
Right. And they may not have the force of personality to just, snap their fingers and get your attention again.
I would say you also don't get mired down by the rules.
Right.
No.
Just play loose.
Yeah, if you find a rule that contradicts what the game master says, then let it go. And then maybe after the game session, say, hey, I found this rule that this, and this. If your character dies because of a rule, whatever, let it go. Because all you're really doing is slowing the game down and making it less fun. Another thing I would say is, if you don't already have your own dice, I can understand that. But somebody at the table should have dice. Game master ideally should have it. Maybe one other player. So if you got the means, bring some dice. But everybody can bring a pencil. Everybody can bring paper. You know what I mean? There's no reason that you shouldn't have all these things. And to expect the game master to shell out all this stuff, I think is unfair. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to get some guys together and we're going to play.
Yeah, they call it a pen and paper game for a reason.
Yeah, and the players show up, they don't have anything, which happens a lot.
Still happens to us.
It happens to us all the time. Yes, you may not have pre-printed character sheets and all that stuff, but at least if you have paper, you can write down some notes, things like that.
In Mark's case, an index card.
Right. Anything.
And a bloody finger.
And something that I haven't implemented in a really long time is I think that the players should bring snacks for the game master.
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's what I was like.
Man.
And Eric spent the last 5 minutes training the next generation of weak-willed PCs. Bring me pizza and your own crap.
I will bring you healthy snacks like plain broccoli.
Yeah, you can have all the cauliflower you want.
That's right.
So, any other words of wisdom from up high?
Don't listen to Eric.
You old ass gamers.
Don't do what Eric does and buy everything.
Because he just ends up selling it on eBay.
Well,
buy it from me on eBay. There you go.
There you go. You're a new gamer. Get it cheap from Eric on eBay.
Give the game master a comfortable seat.
Oh, no, screw that guy.
I get the comfortable seat on Monday, so no.
Game master should be able to think on his feet and stand up the whole time.
That's right. No, I'm just thinking, because it's easy to get that fervor for something that's new. Like, because, we all did it. You start out, I got the player's handbook.
Right.
I like playing fighters. Oh, I'll go over and get the whatever fighter book we have.
Right.
Or if we're, playing superheroes. I like manga, so I'll get the manga source book for Mutants and Masterminds. More is not necessarily better.
Right. Learn the core rules first, and then when you're comfortable with that, then branch out. But
because you may you say you're starting out and you, for whatever reason, you pick D&D, but then maybe D&D is not the game for you. And then you've wasted this money.
Right.
So, yeah, start out small. Stay small. Right. Only add when you really think you need it, if it's going to enhance your game.
Right. I think we've kind of taken care of that. I don't know if we've answered any real questions.
Probably not.
But
this is a TMI kind of situation, I think.
But if any of you fellow elderly gamers out there have some input, send it to us, and we'll make sure that our friend Jeff gets that information.
And if anyone has show topic ideas, feel free to post them.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it. We'll see you guys next week. But so I was gonna.
Pudding pie.
You spend more on fast food and snacks on Wednesday than I do
in a month.
Yeah, literally in a month. I'm just
And
saying.
the cigarettes don't help.
Yeah. Think of all the money you would have.
Come on, let's not bag on Mark.
Think of all the snacking I'd do if I wasn't smoking, motherfucker.
It goes away.
So anyway, but
Start jacking off. More.
He's got
I'm doing the best I can here, Craig.
he's got a 3-nut-a-day habit.
That's pretty bad.
Follow us on Twitter.
We're at Gamers Table.
Like us on Facebook.
Listen to us on iTunes.
Or on Stitcher.
Got a comment or question about the show?
Visit our website, gamerstable.com.
You can comment right there on the episode page.
Or you can send us an email, feedback@gamerstable.com.
Even better, you can leave us a voicemail at 559-546-1231.
Right, and if you do, we could feature your call on the show.
If you like what you hear, click our PayPal tip jar. It's only 99 cents, and it helps us keep coming back each week.
Thank you for listening. Remember, new episodes are released every Tuesday, so please subscribe. Properties discussed during this podcast are the exclusive rights of their respective owners. Gamers Table is a registered trademark property of Side Tangent Productions.